Hachmi, писателка од Шпанија. Жарко Кујунџиски и неговата екипа од антолог се потрудија и оваа година да донесат многу квалитетни имиња и да донесат звезди кои што со своите прашања на вистина ги вознемируваат оние обични текови на литературата. И самото мото на овој подкаст е Please do disturb. Не Please do not disturb, туку да се зборува за сите оние теми за кои што сме научени тука на Балканот, да ги ставаме под тепих, да молчиме за нив и потоа кога ќе пукнат како некоја фрустрација, кога ќе пукнат како не дај Боже масакр, дури тогаш стануваме свесни за тоа. Малку воведни црти за мојата гостинка денеска, Наџат Хачми е мароканско-шпанска писателка, во чие што творештво доминираат темите на идентитетот, миграцијата, женските права и значењето да се биде жена во една конзервативна средина. Студирала арапска литература на Универзитетот во Барселона, почнала да пишува кога имала 12 години, најпрво од забава, а потоа и заради да ја покаже својата мултикултурна реалност. Незиниот деби роман Последниот патриарх од 2008 година освојува важна награда во Каталонија, а потоа наградите само се нижат, а Хачми работи како новинар и колумнист во шпанските весници El País и El Periódico. Во понеделник ќе не сакаат, во 2021 година ја добива најзначајната книжевна награда во Шпанија Наџат. Така што прашањата се надевам дека нема да бидат премногу вознемирувачки како тоа за кое што пишува. Thank you for being part of this podcast.
Thank you.
Is there any background about this story in this novel? Any special possible story that might happen, story that really happened, story that you would like to happen? Could you tell us more about the archaeology behind this?
Yeah, of course, there's a lot of stories in this one story because it's about the context I grew up in and the context I know the best. The context of the young women coming from Muslim background and living abroad. Living in migration. In this case, it's in Spain, but I think there are a lot of similarities with other women that are living in other countries because they have to face the same problems and the same difficulties. So, because I've been listening to a lot of stories of women since I was very young. I used to be a translator when I was a child because there were a lot of people in my neighborhood that couldn't speak the language, and I was the child that was going with them to the hospital, to the mayor, to the school, and everywhere. So I just was exposed to those stories. Women telling what was happening to them, things that they would never explain out of this context or out of the house because it's forbidden. And then when I grew up as a writer, it happened to me that I'm meeting a lot of readers, my readers, women readers, that are telling me their stories. So I have a lot of material to work with.
So basically you are a good listener in order to be an even better writer, right?
I think you have to be a good listener to the reality, listener to the people. You have to have a special, I don't know how to say it, a special point of view, because stories are everywhere. You just have to find them, and you have to observe people, and then you can find the signs, the elements that can make a story. I mean, I remember that since I was very young, because I don't know, there are a lot of elements in real life that are very similar to the elements that are in the books I used to read, or I normally read, and I like and I enjoy. I mean, there is like a literary, I don't know how to say, point of view or something, a literary lens to see the world. So you see things that maybe for other people are not important, and this is the way I catch the details. But before that, I think I have a feeling of discomfort, or a feeling of like even sometimes I'm very angry with their reality because it's very unfair, and I have nothing to do with it. I mean, I don't have the power to change the reality. So maybe sometimes I feel like when I write, I'm doing something. I don't know if it's gonna be useful, if it's gonna change something, but I'm just feeling better after writing. I mean, I do it with with the novels, which is a long-term work. But sometimes it's also something that I do with the columns, and it's a very, I mean, this feeling of powerless, you know, that you don't have the power. For me, it makes me feel very bad. I mean, even physically, it makes me sick. It's like, how can you do that? How can we tolerate injustice and discrimination and violence against women? So I only have the words and the language and to write. I have nothing else.
Your novel or your columns in the newspaper have more ammo, more ammunition to change the world? What is your opinion? Because when you write every week, every day for the newspaper, people get more of you every day, on everyday level. When you write a novel, they need to wait maybe for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
So what is much, maybe in short paragraphs, but every day?
No, I don't write every day.
Wait for the bomb?
Yeah, I write once a week. Well, twice a week for 2.
Which is not a little, you know.
But it's good for me. I mean, it's good for me because there are some things that are happening at that moment that I need to. I mean, things that I don't know that are on the news, or that I need to write about them. And this is, if you are a runner, it's like very different, two different distances. I mean, the columns are like the sprinters. And it's
the novel is the marathon. Yeah.
The novel is a marathon, but it's the same, but it's not the same. You have to. I mean, you have to train differently. You have to run differently, and now I think maybe the most powerful thing we have to resist the different powers that are trying to dominate us. I think it's fiction, because in fiction you're not only telling what do you think about something, you're building a different world, and you're trying to show this world, not only say Okay, I think it's unfair that women are discriminated. I mean, if I say that, a lot of people would stop listening because they're not interested in this. I mean, there are still people that are not interested in these injustices, and or maybe they would. I mean, when you write columns, it's very difficult to avoid the stereotypes. The language that is, because we live in a time where language is very, I mean, there are a lot of words that we use a lot, and at the end they mean nothing. We say feminism, but there are a lot of people saying feminism, and we are referring to different things. It's not the same thing.
Yeah,
but
depends. What do people think when they say feminism? Because
but when you have characters and you have and they are living a life, and you're showing this life, you're showing their intimacy, you're showing the things that happen to them, then it's very difficult to keep this distance and say, no, I don't agree with that, so I'm going to show you what's going on here. So telling a story is still one of the most powerful things that we have. I mean, everywhere, because we need more stories and less ideas and less. I mean, the ideas are of course very important and very necessary. And I read a lot of philosophy, for example, because I really love it. But I don't want the readers just to think about what I'm telling them. I want them to feel what I'm explaining them. And to feel, me as a reader, I feel physically different when I'm reading philosophy than when I'm reading fiction, for example. It's something that I experience I don't know if it's something that just happens to me, but when I read essays, I feel something that is moving in my head, only in my head. I mean, I'm talking about physical in a physical sense. I'm not talking about. It's not a metaphor.
Those shivering,
but I mean, it's not a metaphor. It's something that I really feel here in this part of the heart. But when I read a novel or a story, I feel it in the whole body. Mm-hmm. It's something strange, but
the energy, you can feel the dynamic.
It's different.
You write in Spanish, right?
I write in Spanish and Catalan, mm-hmm. because we have in Catalonia we have both languages. So when I came to Catalonia from Morocco, when I was 8 years old, we started going to school, and the school was already in Catalan, because before that it was all in Spanish, but then they changed the system because of the democracy and the new era or something. Mm-hmm. So we started learning Catalan, but we didn't know. You
didn't know anything before that from the language? You started from a scratch, as they say in the States.
I am from a very, very small village in the north of Morocco. I mean, you have to imagine that we had no water, we had tap water, we had no electricity. I think I had seen one book, which is the Quran, but nothing else. Even draws. It was something very. It was a very traditional, very rural area of the north of Morocco, because it was also an area which was very abandoned by the regime of Hassan II, mm-hmm.
By
the king. Because it was an area where people used to fight a lot against against monarchy and against there was a political situation where we had no investments I mean, it's not only because it was a poor area, it's because the government decided not to invest in this in this area of the north of Morocco. So I used to go with my grandmother to the river to take water, and we used to wash clothes in the river,
and maybe boil the water in order to make it suitable for drinking, right?
Yeah, it was a very it was like another world. So when we went to live to Catalonia, we started at school, and as I was saying,
did you get some problems in adjustment of the new
not in the beginning
way of living? Did you had some relatives there, or some friends of your parents, or you just packed your bags and just ran away from home?
My father was living in Catalonia since the middle of the 70s. He used to go back
and forth.
Make a child and come back. Because
it's basically the
immigration
story. The immigration story, even in the Balkans. It's not something that will it will disturb us, but not shock us.
But that's the reality we lived in. I mean, even my mother, she had her father living in Germany for 32 years. And I always thought she grew up with her father, but it was a man that was going back to Morocco once a year. So
just
we
like
are
Santa Claus, huh?
Yeah.
You're waiting once a year for Santa Claus.
Yeah, I remember waiting for my grandfather from Germany because he used to take a lot of presents, and they were like very exotic presents. I mean, very different from what we had. I mean, things like this sponge to wash the dishes. I remember it was something very, I don't know, like, the new technology at home.
It might seem at the beginning, you mentioned in one of your interviews, because I did some research on YouTube, about a language that women, like grandmothers, mothers of grandmothers, some language that was either not written or they were illiterate, so they were not able to write. So you kind of want to write the stories in order to preserve not that language, but the stories from that language. Could you tell us something more?
Yeah, it's my mother tongue is a language that is not written. I mean, they started writing it now, but it's a very. I mean, some people can write it, but not a lot of people, because you have to learn a new alphabet. You have to, and it's quite difficult. Not for. I mean, it's very difficult for the Amazigh. The language is Amazigh. We call it Amazigh, but maybe you know it as Berber. Berber.
Berber. Berberski jezik.
It's the same language that the Tuaregs speak, but our is a different dialect. In the north of Morocco is a different dialect. But it's an oral language. It's the language that was there before the Arabs arrived to the north of Morocco. So it's the original language, and it's as I said, it's oral, and the women are women like my mother or are illiterate because they weren't allowed to go to school. But when we speak about this language, it doesn't matter, because they are very good at telling stories. They very good at managing the language, because they are very. I don't know. I used to listen to both of them, men and women, and they had different ways of speaking the language. I mean, it was the same language, but women, I don't know if it's because
different vocabulary maybe for the women, domestic, more static topics, and let's say men as more, I don't know, something.
I remember that women used to tell very long stories, and with a lot of details, with narrative tension. with a lot of elements that I would say that are literary elements. Okay.
Pause, yeah, something is problem with
The battery.
Yeah. Battery Aziz, yeah. Just like in True Lies was the movie, I think, yeah. Battery Aziz. Yeah.
Battery what?
There is a movie and the guy, he had the batteries off and he says Battery Aziz. Uh-huh.
I can go back to
just
the...
one sentence, one or two sentences.
Yeah. What I remember is that women used to tell very long stories with a lot of details that we would consider in a way literary details. I mean, but men, they used to tell jokes. But I don't know why, but women used to have their language used to be more complex, more very rich.
Yeah, vocabulary.
The vocabulary and the resources they had were more. For me, as a child, I was listening to that source of entertainment because we had nothing else than the stories they were telling. We had no television.
Seems to purify your way of writing, because it's not intoxicated by anything else that is, I don't know, Western European, globalist and everything. So, maybe you're thinking about globalist question like feminism, like refugee, migration, but in some sort of natural way. It's not learned from a book; it's learned from the tradition.
Well, when I went to Catalonia after learning the language, I started to be a passionate reader, because for me it was fantastic to have something like library in the city, which was something completely new for us. I mean, a place where you can go and read the books for free. Wow. I mean, there are a lot of places where they don't have libraries. Sometimes we don't remember that. But I guess it's a mix of everything, because I cannot say that I'm just, I'm only trying to write exactly the way that those women used to tell stories. But I don't know. When I'm writing, I try to listen to the music of the text, and I'm still very worried about this. I mean, I have to work to avoid these bad influences, like the very stereotyped language and. Because I think those are in fiction or in narrative, those are are straight ways to get to somewhere, but they don't. I mean, for me, they are not. It's not a good way to go to the fiction. It's more and more difficult, I think, because we have a lot of ideas about the correctness of the language and everything. So sometimes you don't realize that this is like in your brain, this influence is on you, and but suddenly you are thinking about using a word or not, and that's a moment you have to stop and say, "Oh, this is not my language. I mean, that comes from outside of me. I mean, that's." For example, I use one word in, I don't know, Macedonian, but and in English maybe it's not exactly the same. But moro in Spanish is referred to the people that are from the north of Africa, Maghreb. Yeah. But moro is a specific word that used to refer to all the people that were coming from there. And
like the Moor from Othello, Shakespeare's.
but
Othello was? Да.
Yeah.
Ама и Othello, я го мислам.
Othello.
Да,
Yeah.
Othello is it.
But now it's a very despective word. It's used in a very disrespectful way.
In a bad way, yeah.
So some people are changing their language because they don't want to look to sound racist, but they don't change their way of being racist. I mean, they're still racist, but they only change their language. And for me, that's a problem because it's a very hypocrite way of. And when you have young women from this origin in Spain, they tell moro by the. You know, like in America, they used to use the word nigger.
The N word, the N word.
Yeah.
It's endonym and exonym. Endonym, if the people who are belonging of the same culture, they can use that word, but nobody from outside that doesn't belong to that tribe or nationality, ethnicity, it's not supposed to use. We have the same thing with the Albanians in Macedonia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there is a N word for the Albanian people, but only they can use that word, and anybody else, if they're using it, it's disrespectful, and it can even get you in a lot of problems because it's endonym and exonym. Like, let's say German people are called Deutsch, but they can be called also Germans, Alemans, or the people from Netherlands, they can be called Dutch, or the French name for Netherlands was Pays du Bas or something like that, I think. Or let's say the people from Finland, Suomi, they call each other Suomi, but for the rest of the world they are Finnish or Finlands or Finlandia. So I can understand what you're talking about.
I'm using this word by purpose because I think we have to reappropriate the words that are that because we've been insulted by this word, but there is nothing bad about being from this origin. I mean, it's not something that we are shameful of. I mean,
but people do that, to all the people who are from minority groups, and what is really pissing me off, because.
But what I mean is that if you have the power to use the language, then I don't know. I feel like I can do something about that. I mean,
imagine, let's say, in our country, if you use the word for gypsy, Kitano. If you use Tsigan, it's offensive towards the guy's name. Because it's always connected with stealing, begging,
the same in Spain.
Not being honest. But if you use it in a poetry for a girl, tsiganka, if you say, oh, ti tsiganka, you gypsy woman, then it's always with like, she's a mystical, she's dark-haired, she knows some magic, she's a good, sexy witch with passion. So it's not offensive in that way, So people, they should really be careful with the words because sometimes they can be offensive. And if we have to use the politically correct language, like let's say I do every day as a teacher in an international high school.
Well, if you're a teacher,
I'm gonna use everything. So if you like to use the pronouns, because I have students who want to be like teacher, I was born as a female, but from now on you will call me John instead of Joanna. No problem if it's your will, parents' will also. I don't have problem because everybody should feel comfortable in his own skin, in his own shoes. Never mind if it's in a religious, gender, ethnicity, point of view.
Yeah, but I mean, we all agree with that, of course. But then it's more difficult than that because sometimes there's no way to avoid the clash.
Yeah.
I mean, me as a feminist, I never wanted to be in some situations that I've been in. But I am. It's just because I'm telling the things that are happening. I'm not telling anything else. But some people are very angry because they don't want you even to name the things. They don't want to let you even name the things.
We should talk about the problems because that's the way we're gonna make the world
but
better.
I had fundamentalist organizations very angry because I was just telling what's going on. That we have young children, young girls that are being covered. Since they are very, very little, and we have very big pressure on young women about on their bodies, on their sexualities. I try to represent in this novel, and there's a lot of suffering in these situations. I've been listening to a lot of young women that were born in Spain that are facing this situation still now, and they are very they feel very lonely because they cannot have a place in their families because they want to live a different life than the life that their mothers lived. They want to go to school, to the university. They want to choose their husband.
You read my question because that was supposed to be my next question. Is there a big problem or clash, as you say, when you try to take the old custom and religious beliefs in the new surrounding that is sometimes even more progressive and more modern than expected? Just to say that something, maybe you have some similar story. There were several murders and mutilations that happened in Switzerland and Belgium when people who were conservative Muslim families from Kosovo and Albania and Albanians from Macedonia, or also Turkish people from Macedonia, but really, really conservative. So they moved there for a better life, for job, blah, 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 and everything. And the girl said okay, because now I'm in a new surrounding and I fell in love with a Swiss guy. And their father says no Swiss guys. I already had somebody who is suitable for you. He's a friend of our relatives from the old, from the old, the old town, from the old suburb where we live. And you have to be, even though you're in Switzerland now, you will be an old custom type of Albanian woman, just like your grandmother, grandmother was. And the girl disapproved that. She tried to disobey that, and then there was a case. I'm sure I cannot recall the names and when did it happen, but they were mutilated. The father literally killed the daughter because she disobeyed his will to marry some Albanian guy, and she wanted to proceed with her relationship with a Swiss guy who was unaware and not even give a damn about her previous customs. The old ways versus the new ways. It's not easy. It happens. I'm not just blaming, the system, the Muslims, the Albanians. Don't get me wrong. The same thing happens when the Macedonians go. We have the biggest diaspora in Canada, in Australia. So I have a cousin who married a girl from Egypt. She was Orthodox, Coptic, I think. Copt. And his family said, "Oh my God! Like, come on, a woman from Egypt. We have a lot of Macedonians there. Like, come on, but if I wanted to marry a Macedonian, I would have stayed in Macedonia.
Yeah.
Why would I go just 2 oceans away just to like why did you? But we have our Macedonian diaspora there. We have our gatherings. We have our nights. We are mingling, mixed marriages between different villages, Macedonians in Australia, So like, what changed? And like, I don't like to be a part of that. He said, my cousin said that.
Yeah, that's a big problem, because I think when a group moves from one country to another, it happens that the identity they want to keep is always on the shoulders of women. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's always our job to keep the identity. I mean, we live it in Spain. There's a big difference from our families, the way they treat the men and the way they treat women. I mean, women, they have to follow a lot of rules to keep this identity, but nobody tells men to keep their identity by, I don't know, dressing in a very concrete way or in a very specific way. So it's always us women who had to. And I'm against that. I mean, it's not our identity at all. It's men's identity. It's not something that we as women want to keep. I mean, we want to. When we immigrate to a country that has more equality for women, you see the advantages at the moment. I mean, they don't have to explain it to you. Even our mothers who were illiterate and who were they could see and they never and they never wanted. I mean, the most frightening thing for them, what was to go back to live to Morocco. That was and some men used to frighten them by that, telling them
you're gonna wash the dishes because
I'm gonna tell you
buy a dishwasher, I'm gonna return you back.
Yeah. They
a sort of blackmail.
They knew it from the beginning, but now we have very complicated situation because you see that it's not fair that we are being discriminated in our families and that we are facing this very, very tough dilemma between being part of our group of origin, our families, or being free women. I mean, they are making us to choose between these two things, and that's very tough because nobody wants to make this decision. I mean, we want to be ourselves, to be free, and to be accepted because it's our origin as well. But they are like. They are not allowing us to belong because we want to be free. They say that is something that is not is not in our culture or in our religion and everything. But those are only excuses to keep the power of the male dominance in this the patriarchy. I mean, they are resistant to the changes that we want, and and they are not. There are a lot of things that you can keep from your culture of origin. It's not only the discriminatory values. You can keep your language. You can keep your literature. You can keep your I don't know. There are a lot of things. I mean, you don't have to leave everything behind, but you can. You should leave behind the things that are harmful for women. I mean. And they're putting us in a very, very complicated situation. And the problem we have is also that we expected more support by European societies to this liberation process. I mean, and in this, actually, at the moment, we don't have support from people for example, from parties that are left parties, that are supporting more the Islamic organization than the women's. I don't know what's happening here, but in Spain, in France, in other countries, you can find left parties having a very good relationship with fundamentalist organizations.
Because they go really crazy and deep into their liberal...
and they denying our situation. I mean, I've lived this in Barcelona with a very extreme left politicians that are saying that I'm not allowed to just, I'm not allowed to say the things that are happening to women from Muslim origins, because that would be stigmatizing, that would be discriminatory for men, and they always thinking about men and not for women. And they say, well, there's gonna be more racism because of that. And I say, so you tolerate discrimination against women because you cannot tolerate racist discrimination. I mean, racism is more important than, and we suffer racism as well. I mean, we suffer both things. We suffer.
I'm really sorry that you had to have the full package, as
but there are a lot of
religion and race and everything, and
that makes me think a lot, and that makes me write a lot, and that makes me I don't know, look for different answers. So I had to. I mean, I'm very. I had to look for a lot of information since I was very young to understand all these situations. And there are more and more young women that they have the things, they see the things very clear, and they don't want to. I mean, after I published this novel, for example, I've met a lot of young women they feel like they are like the characters in the book. Mm-hmm. And they
feel encouraged to...
and even worse situations. I mean, I've met a lesbian girl who's run away from home because she couldn't stay at home. Mm-hmm. I met a woman that had a lot of threats, she had to run away as well to another city because she was in danger. And I cannot just shut up and because we want.
You don't need to shut up because this is a problem that obviously gets everyone, and if you can help with your writing to several other to follow your way or just to find out that they are not alone, then it's much.
Well, the first thing I want to do is to tell a story. I mean, that's the first, but after that,
helps, and,
but it gives me more I don't know, power when I meet young women that are telling me the same story. I mean, it makes me angry, but
I'm not a big expert on feminism, I have students who are having classes as a part of the curriculum, extracurricular activities actually outside the school as feminist studies, and they read something. One of the biggest problems, it's not so much the pronouns.
Not at all.
The thing is that we kind of suffer here is when women are victims of domestic violence, and there still are.
Yeah, we have a lot in Spain.
And we need more shelters in Macedonia for women that are victims of abuse, because even the family won't accept her back.
Yeah.
I'm not now talking about the Muslim.
I'm
talking about the Christian also, and conservative way. I mean, a well-brought father or brother or even a cousin will say, "Come on, you don't have to suffer all that bullshit from home. You can stay at my place, or please, daughter, please return. We're still your parents. You have your family." But all family said, no. If you return, it will cause a disgrace to the family if you get divorced. But he's beating me, cheating me, he's stealing the money that we are saving for the college in order to get drunk. No, come on, daughter, it was your fault. You did something, and we need more shelters. But instead, a lot of the NGOs and the projects that are working with the problem of the feminism, there was some sort of, somebody told me, I cannot say that is absolutely true, I hope it's not true. The Europe Union gave a lot of money to one organization just in order to write a document and then translate the document in like 20 languages, and an overpaid document, just for somebody to write the exact number of the monuments in Skopje. If you went to Skopje, you saw a lot of monuments.
Yeah,
just to say, like, you know, the monuments in Skopje are actually 98% masculine and only 2% feminine monuments. Like, come on, if you spend that sort of money, if somebody mentions 6,000 to 8,000 euros, with 6,000 to 8,000 euros, you can open, with also other donations, a decent 3 or 4 shelters for the whole year.
Yeah,
They don't have to be super fancy lofts or, I don't know, haciendas, but you know, they can be somewhere where the women can grab their children and say, like, now we are safe, your father won't beat you, he won't rape me, he won't beat me, we are safe at least for 3 weeks, and then some other organization to find a job, something. It cannot be, of course, to be a rocket scientist, but maybe something that can make these women who are not independent to have their own salary, because I think that is the bigger problem.
Yeah,
that is
of course.
the biggest problem, because I still listen to stories, of course, not in my family, luckily, but a lot of women who are victims of domestic abuse, even though we are 21st century and they are even working on high positions that they obviously have university for it, but they're like, but you know, sometimes he is angry, he beats me, but he loves me. I cannot understand that damn Stockholm syndrome. Like, he beats me, but he loves me. I cannot get that, you know, I mean.
Yeah, but you have to understand that the victims of violence they have been under a systematic abuse every day. They have a very low self-esteem.
I'm not blaming the victims.
No. I mean,
the
it's
system. I'm blaming the system.
Yeah, the system. The way that that men are treating women, the men that are violent. It's not only that he beats you one day or something. It's terrific.
I was watching the Tina Turner movie because when she passed away, I wanted to watch again What Love Has to Do with It. And you know, like Tina Turner with all those money and still get that sort of abuse. And like, you know, you feel angry. And last year or 2 years ago, I cannot even recall now, there was also another writer who wrote about, a German writer who wrote about a Kurdistan woman, a Kurd, Kurdish woman, who was a victim of domestic violence. But every page had so much beating. I haven't read that sort of a book in a long time, and I said, like, come on, this is enough. Even if you are the biggest damn pervert in the world,
yeah, but it
cannot, like, come on, you just say, like, this is enough. Like, how could you even take it without getting, I don't know, like, psychotic and mad, committing a suicide, or just run away anywhere?
Yeah, I've wrote my first novel actually is about that, about domestic against women and children, and it's when you're in this situation, it's very, very difficult to. I mean, you think you're you're like in a
vicious circle,
and you don't see the light. So, but the thing is, we have to change our culture. because, as you said, sometimes we are more at the side of the. We're not with the victim. I mean, we're not enough. We don't give enough support to the victims. There's still a lot of people everywhere. I mean, in Spain, as we have women killed every day, and we still have some people that are. I mean, relatives of the victim telling them to go back with her husband or something, and that means
similar
that they,
things happen
yeah,
here.
but that means they're not with the victim. They are with the how do you say it in English? The
oppressors.
The oppressors. So. Yeah, we still have to change this culture, and the only way we can change it is by the education.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
definitely
you have to. I mean.
That's why I said opening a shelter is the base of the house, but counting the monuments and writing an essay, it's like, oh, what sort of
that's kind of
chandelier we should put in the house
for me it's like a joke. I mean,
that's why I don't like to sound like somebody who is like.
No, but I agree with you. I mean, I'm a feminist.
Like, oh, this is more important than this. But
no, but in Spain we had the Minister of Equality. Wasting money on an app or app, an application. Application to count how much time each member of a couple spends in housework in the house, and that's not going to help the victims. I mean, we have a lot of women killed. We have a lot of orphans from this violence. And that's not the most important thing. And it's not a question of money, it's a question of where do you waste this, do you spend this money, and to have more efficient preventive measures. I mean, to prevent...
Last week we had a case where a woman was stabbed 40 times, even though previously she called to the police like, he is blackmailing me, beating me, tormenting me for several years. Even in this Balkan country, we are not part of European Union, even though we are technically Europe, still women are not protected, it's still that like nobody gets them seriously. But on the other hand, I don't like to sound like a Robin Hood or something, or vigilante, but there was a woman last year who, in order to protect herself and her children, because I'm gonna kill you, it's one thing, but I'm gonna kill you and the kids, it's a totally different
that's
thing.
The most terrifying thing.
And she killed the bastard, and then she was in court, and the court released her. But then a problem showed, like, what if other women follow that way? Because not everyone will be released, or... Yeah,
but
I don't know the right term in the court when they are, let's say,
condemned.
When they are released from all the guilt and everything, because it was self-defense, obviously. And,
but nobody wants to self-defense.
But
we want to live in peace. And have the right to choose our partner and go away from him if it's not the good one, and not be.
If he's not the suitable one, and that's why we need women who will respect themselves and not to think like, oh, he beats me, he loves me, if he leaves me, I will stay unmarried, old woman, old bachelor, whatever. I want to end this conversation with the last thing on something more like a happy note. From Monday on, they will like us. On Monday, they will love us. Whenever we return work on Monday, we say like Monday is the lousy way of losing 1/7 of your life, because nothing happens on Mondays except that this festival started on Monday and you got your reward on Monday. But usually Monday is the hardest day. But on some other hand, in your book, Monday is the day where it's like the absolute new beginning. There is always new Monday, new beginning. You know,
Yeah.
Monday is the day, like, from Monday on, no pork, just healthy food. From Monday on, no more alcohol. From Monday, I go to the gym. From Monday, I start to study, to work. You know, everything, it's much better when you do it on Monday. Can we rely that every day we can make our own Monday? We don't need to wait for the real Monday. We can make tomorrow our Monday.
Or today. Today
our
is our
Monday,
Monday. Yeah, in this case, the Monday has an ambivalent sense because they want to start. I mean, it's like a hopeful way of thinking. I mean, we will be better. We will change ourselves by Monday. But the problem is they don't realize that they deserve to be loved the way they are. I mean, they don't have to wait to Monday, and they don't have to wait to change, to be thinner, to be smarter, to speak better English, to be more tidy and everything. But this is a very common way that we women act. I mean, we think that we don't deserve to be loved. Sometimes we don't even deserve to exist if we're not perfecting ourselves all the time. And that's because we are in a male dominance culture. I mean, if we were equals, we wouldn't think like that, and we would be freer, and we would eat everything we want, which is a big revolution, I think. And we would do. We would live a more peaceful life. Because it's kind of a process of alienation. It's like you're in a wheel and you're running and you have to do more and more and more and more, and it's that you never see the end. I mean, it's not enough. You will never be enough because it's a problem that you have inside because. I don't know. When you were a child, you were treated different as a woman, as a girl than your brother. I mean, so you started to think that maybe there was something wrong about the fact that you were a girl. I mean, you had to do more housekeeping. You couldn't go outside like they used to go. You had to you had different rules. So you're not. I mean, you don't feel loved if your parents are discriminating you. So you start to think that maybe it's something that it's in you the problem. I mean, and it's a very sad thing, but it's
preparing you for the fight, for the long fight, and that's why women are. Continually fighting for their rights, which is okay, which is great, while the patriarchat and the male world is slowly going to decay.
Yeah, but there are some men that are smart enough to realize that the change that we want is going to be good for all of us. I mean, it's going to be good for women.
Depends of the families where they're raised. If the mothers were respected and respectful, then it's
because
it's okay.
if you have an organization that's where you have more justice for all of us. I mean, more equality. Then all of us, it's going to be a better world for all of us. I mean, you cannot keep your privilege just because your biology. I mean, there is nothing.
Accident.
It's not because
birth,
you've done something extraordinary to win this privilege. It's just because you're a man. I mean, so you have to realize that this is unfair, and we're just asking for our place. We're not asking for.
Nobody wanted to be born the way that he was. I wanted to to be born as a Finnish
Oh, really?
heavy metal musician, but I was born in a Macedonian language teacher.
I never met a Finnish metal musician. I met Finnish people, but not musicians.
Just kidding. Thank you. It was a really interesting conversation. Just keep up with you are doing a great Amazon work. Yeah, so
Thank you very much.
All the future Amazon women that will follow your way and the way of the characters in your books, and hope to see you once again. Once again, congratulations for the award, and please, I would like if you could.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
You had the pen.
I'm gonna. Yeah.